Ring ring ring, hello simps, virgins and vegans, and welcome back to Krown's magical and very juicy.
We're poor again.
But that's okay!
Well, welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a good hair day today, and it's very much needed because Bitcoin and the rest of the market taking a bit of that down step that we were looking at yesterday. So that is going to really be the focal point of today's analysis. Short-term time frames actually massively different than higher-term time frames right now, so we'll be doing the whole fucking rigmarole with it all. I need to adjust my damn camera over here because for some reason it's off to the side. Why does that happen? Don't know, but doesn't matter, man. Anyways, good morning to everyone out there. I see a lot of familiar faces. This is good, man. What's up, Monkey Gains? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you as well, and hope everything's well as well with you. Wen Lambo. His name is Wen fucking Lambo. Definitely Asian. Very, very cool, my friend. Very fucking cool. What's up, Rocky G? Good morning to you as well. B. Darling Wales, Mr. Grunt, Mr. Jack. There he is. What's up, Darren? And what's up, Maury? What's up, brother? Can do something. We can do something indeed. What's up, Mr. BK? Good morning to you as well. Captain Ahab, loved you in that book. I forget what it's called. Moby Dick. That's it. Moby Dick. Yeah. Big boy George, Mr. Zam, Gabor, our lovely moderation crew, Crypto Med. We definitely need some Crypto Meds today. Will Charles, Elsa's even here. Capo Tico, what's up, brother? Well, it's fucking up, man. And a dingo ate my Satoshis. Anyways, we got plenty to talk about today. This is actually the most exciting day that we've had in about a week or 10 days, I suspect. And a big announcement as well. You know what the big announcement is? Elsa watched Star Wars and she likes it. She loves it, man. She loves it so much that she's like, when can we watch the next one? And I was like, well, you know, I'm kind of busy recently, so maybe we put it off. But she's like, no, we really need to watch it tonight. I'm like, all right, fair enough. Anyways, with that in mind, the hair daddy, that is hilarious. Pura Vida indeed, my friend. And I think we might even be visiting the Pura Vida land, which I look at as Portugal at least. So soon enough, man. Soon enough indeed. Episode 4. No, actually, you know what we did is we started off with the first one in chronological order. So we started off with episode, I think it is 4. Oh yeah, we did episode, the Phantom Menace, the worst one. The worst one is what we started with. but you know what, man? She enjoyed it. And there we go, man. Another life saved. Anyways, Star Wars to the moon, baby. Star Wars to the fucking moon. Anyways, yeah, so I just need to prepare for today's analysis. The scenes were too long, she says. Yeah, that one was honestly like the worst one. But honestly, there's some good one-liners in there, man. Qui-Gon is great. He's fucking amazing. Anyways, can we look at Dixie? Today would actually be a good day to look at Dixie, Mr. Sinegra. We can definitely do that. However, you know, we really don't have to go too far outside of Bitcoin to kind of get a general idea of what's most likely to happen, especially in the short term right here. Anyways, let me just make sure that my charts are set up because we're going to start over here and make that case. Let me get my notes ready over here, of which I've actually been taking them. Okay, we got that. Yes, we got this over here. Beautiful. And let's actually throw it back on this one so it's nice and seamless there. And yeah, and then we'll start back on over here. Anyways, I got a few more sips, or actually a couple of gulps of this coffee left, so we'll need to polish this one off a little bit beforehand. And in the meantime, I'll just read some of the comments off. David Sit says, hello, I'm watching you every day now. Hey, cool, man. Well, good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you indeed. The pod race is worth it. She hated that scene. She also said the scene with Darth Maul was too long as well. It's like, what are you talking about? But she was quite surprised of Qui-Gon Jinn's fate. I won't do a spoiler, even though, you know, you've had like 20 fucking years to watch it, but rather fucking interesting. Cafe the junk, yeah. Ketamine and 100x depression, says Donna. Depression, man. What's going on over here? It's all good, man. It's all good. Get your lances ready. We do need some lances indeed. Got some whales to deal with. Bullish on McDonald's. McDonald's. Hey, thanks for that, Mr. Rowdy, man. Appreciate that, brother. Darth Teabagger. She keeps on saying, where's Darth Vader? Where is that Darth Vader? I'm like, no, that is not Darth Vader. Although maybe there's a bit of surprise right there. Anyways, I just moshed out to your intro. Fucking nice, man. Me and Elsa do sometimes as well. She's quite the dancer, if you haven't seen. She has a lovely dance compilation on her Instagram, so definitely go and harass her there. It's a great place, of which she'll probably do my own announcement that, hey, on Instagram, not as always, but as recently, there has been a lot of impersonators, scammers, and whatnot. I can assure you that I only have one Instagram account. It is in the link description below if you happen to give a fuck about my personal life, which, well, it's pretty standard, pretty fucking standard right there.
Someone says
Jar Jar Binks. Perhaps yes, indeed. If the law of opposite is true, does that mean that the law of opposite has to have an opposite? That is a good question. I don't know if that implies that exactly, if you want to get super philosophical, but an interesting an interesting thing that I have to think about a little bit more nonetheless. Limit order on McDonald's. Krown's about to tell us we're all screwed. No, I don't think so just yet. Although I do think that there's a lot of good reasons to be rather careful, let's say in the short term. Or sorry, not necessarily in the short term, but in the more medium to long term right here. Hey, what's up? Top of the morning to you as well, Mr. Nico. Definitely Irish. Nice one. Jar Jar would be a doggy coin hodler. We should actually check that one out today. I'm curious to see what a lot of the Jar Jar thinks is Finnish. I look at Finnish people are more like robots, man. more like R2D2 or C3PO actually. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that, Mr. Jacksons. Should I not quit my J job as a fleshlight tester? I don't know, man. It sounds actually pretty fun, so I wouldn't stop doing that anyways. Silver X Buy, what's up, Martin Hunt? I see you over there, man. We'll get to that soon enough. There he is, Wally Nell. Oh man, he was having a good time yesterday. That was fun, man. That was a fun day. That was a fun fucking day, man. And it's good to see you like really soak up, you know, a day like that, which your LARP lines, man, they got it pretty damn well. So have to love that. And Nikki Page, there she is. Lee Yee Loves Pizza. I know that name. But yeah, man, that was, that day, that day I probably did, or I definitely did more trades than I did in like the last week or 10 days combined. It was a busy day, and I suspect that today and tomorrow especially will be another busy day here. Anyways, sorry, Caps, all good, man, all good. All right, we're almost done. Just maybe one more good sippy, and then we're into it. More of a Doug Tony type guy. This is hilarious. Fear and greed back at 34 right now. Good sign. FUD means buy soon before greed goes back up. I know that this is a general analysis that a lot of people like to put out there. I think it's much too simplistic, and it doesn't account for the nuances of what the sentiment indicators actually account for, which it needs to be combined with one trend and then also market cycle. If you go back to 2018 to 2019 especially, and if you were to back test a statement like that, like, oh, fear and greed index low, so buy time soon, it's bullshit. It's silliness, and people who kind of perpetuate that, and I'm not saying that you do, it's just I see this a lot on like Twitter, on YouTube and everything, but the people who typically perpetuate that, I mean, they would have to do like the smallest amount of work to back test it to find out that it's completely fucking garbage. To use in that very simplistic way. What it does do rather well is if Bitcoin were putting in, let's say, a higher low, and you also got a divergence in sentiment, meaning that there was a lower low in sentiment compared to like the last low, that would be a really good sign. But just to say that, oh, it's low or it's in the fearful zone and that's a good time to buy, no, that's, in my opinion, complete and utter bullshit. And I suspect that anyone who trades like that, I don't think that you could be successful trading like that, at least from my own back testing. So, good luck with that. Where is Ethereum Bitcoin? Yeah, we'll look at that one as well. In fact, I definitely want to look at a lot of the majors and altcoins today, just because it'll be a good time to really be following up on a lot of them and see if there's like agreement within the market, because we do expect on the higher term timeframes for everything to kind of be moving with each other. So that's going to play into the analysis, obviously. Oh my god. Hey, we have some Finnish over here. Mr. Henrik says, or is it Henrik or Heinrich? Huvar huomenta. That's Henrik. Helsinkin, Hurvesen, Hurtennesin, Almun. Yes, indeed, sir. Kiitos. I know that we have a couple of Finnish people here as well. Hey, what's up, Rocky G? I know that we got Mr. Laurie T in here as well. Fucking good friend over there. And gulp, indeed, man. Jason Pizzino uses the fear and greed to buy. I think he's probably a little bit more nuanced than that. I cannot imagine that he would be that simplistic with it, because it would not work. I mean, I don't think it would work, to be quite honest with you. But fair enough. I'd probably have to speak with him just to understand. Tervetula. Yeah, I understand that one as well, man. That's like my 10 words that I know in Finnish after living here for almost 5 years. Jesus Christ, man. You sound like a sim talking. All right, here we go. Last one, and then we're into it. Okay, cool. Let me get my notes up over here. All right, and I think we are ready to rock and roll. Okay. All right. And here we have Bitcoin. I want to start off with the analysis with a big differential between the short-term timeframes and the higher-term timeframes, of which, yes, yesterday we did get that downside below $44,500. Just ticking below there was bad enough, but the daily closed below there as well. So that's really going to set into motion the biases for the next probably a couple weeks to come as things do come to fruition. Now, juxtapose that against the short-term timeframes, which we're going to go into right now. And I would actually be looking for a bounce on Bitcoin. We are coming down to the 55 exponential average on the daily right here for what it's worth right now, and also on a bullish retracement for the Fibonacci's at about the 0.5 as well, which is a common bounce area. So very, 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 very likely to bounce in the short-term timeframes, of which would I give it a chance to potentially put in something resembling a bit of a bear trap right here? It is a possibility as always, but what makes an analysis is a validation and an invalidation point. And to validate a bit of a bear trap would be at minimum for Bitcoin to pop back up and close even a short-term time frame, even a 4 hour in this case, back above the 618 Fibonacci retracement on this current move. So again, this is a higher term time frame fib versus a lower term time frame fib right here. Just kind of gauging where those major areas are at. And in this case, short term, very likely to bounce. Bounces can come up very easily towards $44,000, maybe even $45,000. But again, as long as bounces fail to get back above either $46,000 on a higher term time frame, namely a 12-hour or daily, or especially above, or a 4 hour above about 46,500, I would look at that as just another lower high, getting ready for essentially lower. Now, with that in mind, all lower term time frame momentum oscillators are essentially looking like they could very easily bounce right here in the short term. We see 6 hours stochastic momentum coming all the way down. Keep in mind, it is actually not crossed the upside just yet, and will be remaining with downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's closing below 43,750 or so. Full hour is also in a same region as well. Very, very aggressive down here, but 43,650, the magical number to force it back up. And then we can go down to maybe like a 2 hour and then an hourly, just see that they're all on the same side. Bi-hourly also very much in the critical zone, looking for a bit of a corrective move coming off of very, very high volatility right here. And 43,200 going to be the magical number, of which Bitcoin is currently above by about $100. And then the hourly, as you can see, is also freshly crossing up. Again, a bit of a corrective move very likely in mind here as volatility does cool off, but 42A going to be the magical number for this one. So short term, very likely to bounce. But again, do not confuse bounce with the same thing as reversal, or at least I would not, until Bitcoin's at minimum back above about $46,000 on a daily closing basis, nothing less. If that were to happen, hey, this would be, a bit of a higher low right here. And, we can start to talk about targets north of $50,000 plus over time, of course. But until that happens, I do look at this as there are several more bearish things actually on the board right now that have been confirmed in comparison to the bullish things that are present but unconfirmed, which, obviously things that have actually been confirmed, do hold more weight. So what am I essentially talking about? What am I going off of right here? Well, we need to combine the whole picture, obviously. And one of the big pieces of this picture has been on the Krown trading application, or just anywhere that you can get the global open interest, that is, with it getting above 14 billion. Now, we actually we can't see the data because it only tracks it for a year here. But if we were to go back for the last couple of years where it's gotten above 14 billion each and every time, which there's been, I think, five or six, each and every time that we have seen that, plus a local high, minimum 20% pullback, and in some cases even 50%. So I'll give you an example from a little bit more recently. That's going to be coming off of, well, obviously the $69,000 all-time high that we currently have right now from November. But even this one that we saw more recently over here in late December at about $51,000, $52,000, of which obviously as soon as Bitcoin confirmed a local high right there, which was in this little stutter step right here, well, the downside did emerge from there. And in this case, this was actually more than 20% as well, actually 35%. But we've seen this several times in the past couple of years here, of which once that local high is confirmed, the unraveling of these, kind of egregious leverage positions typically does bring things, or it doesn't typically, like it has always brought things lower. Now, of course, this is a game of probability and statistics. Doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but the setup is there, obviously, and that would imply lower over time. On top of that, we do see that funding rates are actually positive right here. They're very, very slightly positive, to be fair. This is kind of a moot point, or really splitting hairs, but it is present, and this would be a lot easier as a higher low call if you saw these funding rates get immediately very, very negative, of which we don't have that right now. When I say immediately very, very negative, I mean like what we saw back on over here in late January on this spike down to what is Bitcoin's current low for this last move to the downside, about $33,000 or so. That's a good indication that you do have a major local low in. In this case, we're not seeing that, at least for right now. Anyways, on top of that, Let's go back on over here. And, why am I pointing this out with the open interest? Well, Bitcoin has confirmed a local high as of yesterday, coming back down and closing below our very critical region of $44,500 on basically all time frames that matter in this point. And we do see that higher term time frame momentum oscillators are starting to turn down as well. So let's go over here for the daily. And we do see the daily is actually nosediving below 46,630. So, we are starting to see that 46,000 number come up. It doesn't mean that it can't, pop back up around there, but you're seeing a technical breakdown, a local high confirmed plus momentum also turning down as well. I mean, that's one of the most ancient strategies, the most simplistic strategies, and it's one of those things that typically just works, for lack of a better term. We also see that DMI is supporting the downside move as well, as long as Bitcoin is closing below $46,000. Very key point right there. Anyways, other than that, the buy daily, it also closed last night as well. And we're getting our first cross to the downside, and that will be remaining with downside momentum as long as Bitcoin is below 47,700 or so. So that has a long way to go right there. And then also I want to reference one of the big things that we were focusing on yesterday that was kind of aligning with a move happening sooner rather than later, that 20 or so plus percent move, and that would be the daily BBWP, of which we did see expansion from yesterday's lows at single digit percentiles at about 6% or so, or just below, sorry, not percent, but percentile. Anyways, to give this its due diligence, we can just very briefly and quickly back test a couple of the last times that we did see extreme lows like this, which was back on over here in February, early February, in the middle of February. We could even do this one as well, obviously. And of course, volatility is direction neutral. But my point is that first move from that extreme low expansion was essentially the direction for the next, in this case, about 23.5% right there. In this case, it was to the upside, but you'll notice that the first move was to the upside in this case. So that first move off that expansion, that first bar, that first dildo was straight up, and then you get continuation. And that first day did the majority of it, kind of like what we're looking at right now as well. In fact, that first day did about 11% actually. The next one to the downside was actually just a couple weeks later, as you can see right here. And in this case, that first move, right here, done, did most of it in the first day, and then continuation to your next closing low about 16, 17% later. If we go on a wick basis, about 23% as well, which is very much in alignment with what we just saw. And then the most recent one that we did see was coming to the upside actually. And again, that first day, big expansion, and then follow through all the way up about 22 or 21.5% move right there as well. Now, of course, we can backtest this further as well. I don't think that is necessarily necessary right now to be redundant, but in this case, we do see that first expansion phase right here, and the first move has been down, also confirming a local high at the same time, also with that rather high open interest read that has historically led towards major unravelings, also with positive funding rates, also with this as well, which I was focusing on the last day, and the daily Gaussian over here on CME. We did close below the top side of it, and very likely do come down to test around the median band overall at about 42,000 to 42,500-ish region. Probably another bounce in mind right there as well. But ultimately, I do, based off of that, likely look lower because we will confirm something rather nasty on the next 5-day closure. Now, to be fair, it's not happening today, tomorrow, or the next day. It's happening in 3 days from now, So that would be maybe alongside the weekly closure as well, if I'm doing my mental math correctly. But if it does close anywhere below $44,500, then we will confirm hidden bearish divergence right here on the 5-day RSI. And that would also be alongside that very low, extreme low, I should say, 5-day BBWP read, which I've been kind of using to judge this analysis for a long time now. That was kind of giving me the bullish hopium right here. I wouldn't say that the bullish hopium is fully over, but if you get this signal, I would feel quite confident saying that, at least for a while. And that would be this. We see extremely low volatility. Is this the chart that I was using? No, it was this one. This one? Yes, this one. We see extremely low volatility. And then if we were to see the 5-day stochastic momentum turn to the downside, which will happen with any sort of a 5-day closure below $42,000, that would be not just a turn down, but also rejection of the bullish control zone, which is where we have seen the last 2 major moves to the downside kind of occur from. So I do think that that is at stake. It's still a little bit further away from being fully confirmed, as we have not gotten this full-on confirmation on the expansion of this volatility just yet. But that's kind of what's at stake right now for the for the blue laws, I suppose. And I would go as far as saying that as long as Bitcoin's below, especially $46,000, the probabilities have now turned significantly in favor of the bear laws here. Again, keep in mind, short-term timeframes very likely to bounce, but a bounce is not the same thing as reversal just yet. So if I were to pull out maybe another like what if drawer of hopium right here, it would be this. It would be, hey, look, Bitcoin got its higher high right here. It's having a technical pullback down to the 0.5. It's going to put in a higher low. We would expect to see potential hidden bullish divergence on that, and it would be there, to be fair. But in order to confirm that, Bitcoin at minimum needs to get back above about $46,000. At least in the way that I look at things. And until then, everything's just kind of a lower high, and, short-term corrective moves very likely lead towards, daily continuation here, probably into next week. So with that in mind, I should probably look at maybe we go look at tether dominance. I think this one's been rather consistent as well. We were looking for a bounce in this week. We've gotten that bounce. Do we look for continuation on top of that? I could kind of come at this from a couple ways as well. If I am going to be bearish, I mean, this is kind of where you expect a lower high and hidden bearish divergence to form right here, which it will be possible, but that would be the more bullish look on this. So what would that essentially look like if it were to happen? Well, of course, it's just easier to watch for Bitcoin back up about 46. But in this case, I would say that would be fully confirmed with any sort of a daily closure below about 409. That's 409% in this case, and very likely plays back down to the lows and trades low over time, of which I think I very likely think that it will, but for right now, that's a little bit further away for the time being, so I don't think it's as necessary to be speaking about. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for today's analysis. Maybe I should go over like a continuation condition here before a bounce, which I suppose is possible. If we do see a medium-term time frame closure, let's say like a 12-hour below about 42,500, I suppose I'd be looking for a move down to like $40,000 first, and a bounce there before any sort of short-term time frame bounce emerges. I think it's a little bit less likely for the reasons that we postulated earlier, but I, as always, need to have those conditions overlaid right there. Anyways, I hope that was in some way helpful, and there you go for Bitcoin, sirs and zers. Lovely, man. Fucking lovely. All right. Cool. I see that there's a shit ton of comments over here. Let me scroll around to where I should be right now. Say what? Oh, Elizabeth is first. All right, Elizabeth is first. On a scale of Jar Jar to young Ian McGregor, where is Ethereum Bitcoin? All right, so let's look at Ethereum Bitcoin. I also want to look at Ethereum as well, and we'll definitely record this one. I think this one will be rather interesting just in general. Yeah, short-term time frames bounce here. Probably carries on with the bounce. Daily. Okay, I'm guessing you probably want to look at a general overview. Daily and weekly. It's actually not bad. I mean, I'm not bearish on this. At least I shouldn't be bearish on this for right now. Let's see. I'm looking for something that's obvious right here. I do think that this one actually bounces up a little bit more before anything else. Kind of a weird one. We should also go over to Ethereum as well. Okay, what are we doing over here? I do think that this one probably pops down a little bit further before it's bounced, somewhere around 3,100. Okay, all right, we'll go back to Ethereum Bitcoin. I'm actually quite stumped on this one. It's not as bearish it's not bearish at all on the weekly as I'd expect it to be if the rest of the market was put in a major high right here. So I don't know, is there maybe a bi-monthly? I'm looking for something that's very obvious. No, we don't have it just yet. In fact, this one's still okay as far as I'm concerned. Okay, quarterly, daily. All right, we'll go back around here. All right, and we'll record this one. Let me get this set up over here, and then we'll go into Ethereum US dollar as well. And gauge that one off. All right, yeah, there we go. That's starting to become a little bit more obvious in this case. Daily stochastic momentum turning down. 5-day will turn down below about 6.6. Okay. All right. So yeah, probably pulls back first, and then actually looking for a bounce. Okay. Here we have Ethereum Bitcoin, and we'll also look at Ethereum US dollar as well. But to start this one off, we do see that the weekly is in a bit of a pullback posture right here. And I do think that it probably pulls back a little bit more before its next bounce, somewhere around about 7.25 million Satoshis. Now, the question is from Miss or Mrs. Elizabeth J, on a scale from Jar Jar to young Ian McGregor, where is Ethereum Bitcoin? I kind of put it in the middle right there because it's actually compared to most other things not bad. In fact, I'm just looking at the weekly right here, it's not an issue at all. But when I go off of general market analysis, I do get a little bit more concerned for something like this. So in the short-term timeframes, if we were to start to make a bit of analysis on it, I would be looking for a bounce first. Bounces can come up rather easily towards 7.45 million Satoshis and perhaps even as much as 7.5 million Satoshis. Anywhere around there is fair game. And yes, I do think that it will bounce first short-term. However, after that bounce will be rather telling, as any sort of a rejection below 7.5 million Satoshis, and I do look for this one to come down probably into next week, somewhere around about 7.25 million Satoshis would be my first target, and second target would be more around about 7.15 million Satoshis. We do see over here, daily stochastic momentum is actually turned down for the first time in the critical zone since, in a similar posture since about December 2021, which was starting this whole move down here, actually literally at the top, and we're kind of at a similar region right here as well. And this actually would be a case of divergence, as we do see significantly lower prices versus significantly, I wouldn't say significantly, but higher momentum oscillators right here. Now it is on stochastic, so I'm not like super concerned with it, but that would be sort of the bearish take on this. And I would actually confirm full-on bearishness on this asset. Well, maybe not full-on bearishness, but a major move to the downside, back down to like 6.5 million Satoshis or so, if you do start to see daily closures below about 7.15 million Satoshis on the daily. Until then, I'd actually give it a bit of a chance right here. And long-term, I'm not seeing anything that's like super concerning or super obvious just yet. If anything, I do see that it does have potential hidden bullish evidence forming on the monthly. So long-term, I do actually have to remain bullish on it as long as it remains above that daily pivot. But just be aware that if it does start to violate that region, then things very likely do turn around fast, and very likely a big move down into the mid to low 6 million Satoshi region. Anyways, go check out the Ethereum US dollar pairing right here and see if this one kind of aligns with it. And so far, not so good. So far, not so good right there. Let's go over to a daily. Very similar to Bitcoin in this case, in the sense that I do think that you're setting up for a short-term time frame bounce relatively soon. The question is, do you maybe grind at the lows one more time before that bounce, somewhere around about low 3100s or so? I think it's definitely possible right here, but it is setting up for a corrective move, relatively soon. I'd be waiting for 4-hour BBWP to get back down below the moving average for it to kind of enter into what I consider a contraction phase. And in this case, that likely does, align with a corrective move back up, perhaps around about 3,300, maybe even as much as 3,400. Let's actually put an inverse fib on it just to see where those pain points would be. And yeah, actually about mid 33 to 34. So is kind of where I'd put that one after, on a bit of a bounce. But ultimately, it's the higher term timeframes here that really are going to take over. And the weekly, for what it's worth right now, which is typically a lot, is already trading below last week's low. And, technically speaking, I want to wait for full-on confirmation for a weekly closure below last week's low before, declaring it a local high, and in this case, a lower high. But in this case, we would have hidden bearish divergence on weekly RSI, which is not not a good signal right there. Same thing on the 5-day as well. I think they're actually going to close at the same time this week, so it's not really going to be too much of an advantage of waiting for that. Perhaps we could go down to like a 3-day to get a bit more of an a bit more of of an idea of where we're at. And yeah, I'd say any sort of a daily closure below 3,100, and I would say that is front runnable in this case, as this is going to be your next local high on not just a daily, or it already is on a daily, but on a 2-day, 5-day, and weekly, which very likely does have targets back down into the $2,600 to $2,800 region in the following weeks. Until then, let's go check it out over here. I'm curious to see if we see the same thing as Bitcoin, and yes, we do. Daily stochastic momentum is nosediving here. DMI has just turned red and will be remaining red as long as this one's closing below 34.26, and momentum will be down below about 35.34. So again, you have a local high plus momentum down. Volatility is already on the ground on the daily, so looking for expansion from that region. I think that at minimum we're going to see a correction. At least somewhere around this trend line, which is actually right around the edge of the bearish control zone, before you do see like a potential daily low in this case. So, I hope that was in some way helpful. I should talk about, invalidation for the, like, basically for looking for general upside and just an explosive move to the upside from here. That would very obviously be above that 3,400 number on a daily closure. Until then, or even a little bit above there, about 34.50 or so. Until then, every short-term time frame bounce, just another lower high. And yeah, hopefully that was in some way helpful. And there you go. Maybe not so helpful in that case. Anyways, let's see. I think we're back on Tom Jordan. He says, "Hey, Krown, nearly every trader I've spoken to has blown up an account or 10. Yeah. You've mentioned a few times that you nearly I did go bankrupt. Not nearly. I'm like 100% bankrupt, man. So would be interested on how you overcame that. Okay, so I can come at this question from multiple ways. That would be one. That would be one of them. Sorry, that was highly unprofessional. From a guy who talks about candlesticks as dildos on the internet. Anyways, let me take a sip of this water and then we'll get into that one. Hey, what's up, Jason? Good to see you, man. Good to fucking see you. Guys, check out Jason Pizzino on the old YouTubes right there. Okay, so yes, I have not just nearly blown up my account or nearly gone bankrupt. I've literally been 100% bankrupt, like $0.00 in my bank account. So how did I overcome that? Well, there are several things that kind of go alongside that. One of them would be like the emotional, like recovering from the emotional wreckage of literally having, nothing, which if you haven't experienced that before in your life, how could I even describe it? Okay, so it's been a while now, so it's kind of more difficult for me to recall these feelings, but they are still, it is still there if I really concentrate on it. And what it felt like is like every morning I'd wake up and there'd be like a fucking foot on my chest, kind of like keeping me down, and just all of my not even motivation, but just all of my willpower was kind of sucked away from me. I felt so fucking useless, to be honest with you, man. So that was kind of like the first part of it was just overcoming that, like getting over my own sort of grief cycle, which took about 10 to 20 days, I would say. Of just kind of feeling sorry for myself, I guess. It wasn't fun, man. It wasn't fucking fun. I can tell you that for sure. So working out of that was sort of the first process. But what brought me out of that wasn't necessarily just like the time expiring there. What brought me out of that was then focusing on, okay, what can I do now to make this right and set me back on hopefully the right path. So working towards that is what actually brought me out of those points, which I think is actually a rather profound thing just in general, because you can, even if you are at like a, rather desperate area like I was, or just, feeling that emotional pain, just the process of like thinking about what you can do to get out of it is starting the process of, I guess, maybe healing or moving forwards. Like that's at the point where your brain switches off for being sorry for yourself, and now thinking about how can I move forwards, and that's just a matter of kind of switching the own question in my head, and maybe your head as well, of like, not why did this happen to me or why did I do this, but how can I now do something different? So that was the first thing. And then in a more mechanical sense, like how did I actually overcome being fucking bankrupt? Well, I did something that I would not suggest anyone else do. First I did something that I would definitely suggest everyone else do, which was as I started to think about how can I overcome this, well, I first dissected why did I go broke to begin with? Well, it was simply because I thought that I was better than the market. I wasn't following my actual plan. In fact, I didn't really have like a good plan to begin with. My plan was, I've gotten, like education from some of the best traders in the world, and that should naturally just make me good at this. Kind of, but no, because, basically what I did, let me just explain it with an example right here. We'll go to SPY because this is just gonna be the easiest one. Back in like 2013, 2014, which is like way back on over here now, I was basically shorting this whole move up, thinking that, I know better than the market because, it's supposed to come down after this. It eventually did, but I was broke, before that. So it didn't matter to me, man. But yeah. So first dissecting that, why did I go broke? I basically didn't have a plan. That's what it came down to. So the next sort of step in that process was coming up with a plan, back testing it, which is why I'm such a fucking Nazi about it nowadays. And then, well, once I had the statistics and just history of, okay, I can see how this strategy works out. I can see where it fails. I know now that when it gives me a signal not to be in position, don't fucking be in position. Don't think that I know better than the market. And working out of that was the biggest process the biggest like thing of it. Then I did something that I would not suggest anyone else fucking do ever. This is not just financial advice, but life advice or anything of that sort. And it'd be this. It'd be this. Really fucking bad, man. I basically lied to a bank about my income and whatnot. Because, before then, I did have like streams of income coming in, and I got a loan for a good amount. I also got a bit of a loan from my mentor at that time as well. And then also I just maxed out my credit cards to basically get an account back. And from there, I traded my way out of it. there was a lot of luck. Okay, there's a lot of luck with that. Again, I do not suggest anyone else do that ever. It could have ended absolutely terrible for myself, but at that point I already had multiple years or many years of experience, and also some really good education. And at that same time, I actually finally started to put in the work with working out my own strategies. So that's how I overcame it. Who knows what happens in the future, man? Can always turn back on you. But that's one of the lessons of it. It's like, look, if I'm not always on top of things, and if I'm not being that fucking Nazi for myself, being like, hey, this is not your setup, don't fucking take it, then I can very easily fall back into those basically death spirals very, very easily. So that was absolutely critical for myself. I see that Mr. FA, as Elsa's on her phone not paying attention, has put in a comment here. He says, hey, sir, looking at PYR on KuCoin. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see what the altcoins are doing today. Let's go KuCoin, right. All right, entered at $8, exited at 17.5. That's a phenomenal trade. Like, phenomenal fucking trade. It had a good breakout, taking out Feb 7 highs, consolidated above resistance until Bitcoin shit on us. Feels good, man. 4-hour daily and 5-day bull and bear case, please. Very, very likely to pull back from here. No, I would not consider this a breakout for one. Breakout, like in the way that you're looking at it, which I'm guessing is on the macro scale, would be back above like $23, $22.5 to $23. In this case, short term, yeah, you did get a breakout, and you probably did hit whatever, I'm guessing whatever technical targets that you had, because you got at $17, which is really, really good trade. But in this case, I look at this as a local high, and while I wouldn't necessarily call it like full on bearish yet, I do think that you will trade sideways and down from here and probably come down somewhere around $13 or so, give or take. The bull case is that that's just going to be another higher low, and fair enough, that would be. Anything above $11 is actually pretty fucking good long term, and would be another macro higher low, and that would be essentially your bull case. But that would still coincide with a pullback from these regions. 4-hour time frame, what's most likely to happen from here? Maybe a short-term bounce alongside the rest of the majors, perhaps even as much as like $16 to $17. But I do think that this one does come down further before you do have something resembling potentially a higher low if it is going to end up being bullish. Problem is, as you said, or as you identified, if Bitcoin comes down, everything is probably going to come down with it. So fair enough in that case. But to be fair, which should always be. To be fair, long term, it's certainly not as bad as at least the charts that we've seen thus far today. As long as this one's above about $11, $12, you do have a chance here. Long term. Personally speaking, what I think is going to happen is something like this, where maybe put in a bit of a high right here, come back down, put in a higher low, and that would be the bullish case, and do something like that. That would be really, 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 really good long term, if that were to happen. But now we're just kind of getting into like the what if drawer, which I don't think it's not like not like real analysis. So hopefully that was in some way helpful, man. Hey, what's up, Sebastian? I see you over there, man. We'll get to that soon enough, man. I got a few more over here. Mr. Martin Hunt, good morning to you as well. Could you take a look at gold? Yeah, gold. Yeah, gold. We haven't looked at gold in a while, so I'm curious to see what gold's doing on this move. Did it trade with the rest of the market or not? And it's literally just going sideways. Literally boring as all fuck, man. You gotta have the patience of a saint in order to trade this thing. That is why I could never do it, man. I could never do it. Anyways, on the weekly, okay, I see. Hey, thanks for the documentary recommendation. Sweet. Yeah, man. I'm curious which one you're talking about the quadriga one. Yeah. That one was super interesting. Everything I had was on that exchange for a non-trivial amount. Oh my God. So did you get out of it, or were you hit by that as well? Dear Lord, man. Anyways, gold, not playing with the rest of the market pullback. So I do look at that as kind of a good thing, but it just moves so fucking slow, man. I still look at gold as actually long-term bullish, especially as long as you're above about 1900 on a daily closing basis. A little bit below 1900 is okay, like 1896 to be exact. But until then, how much longer do you go sideways here? Who the fuck knows, man? You're about to go into a weekly contraction phase on BBWP. I expect that this could really drone on for a while longer. In fact, now that I look at it a little bit more, especially on the weekly, as you did request, anything above 1875 in this case is fine long term. I'd just kind of be expecting a lot more sideways here, and then very likely another try to the upside, maybe around Q3. Maybe around Q3. That's how fucking slow these things move. and breakout confirmed above about $2,000 on a weekly closure with targets like, probably deep around 2,600 or so. Long term, I think this is fine. I just think that you're looking for probably a bit of a sideways and downside move here first into a higher low, and that could come anywhere around like 1875 or so. So hopefully that was helpful, man. What's up, CY? Love you, bro. Miss those Chicago mornings. Yeah, man. I put out I didn't put a poll, but I just basically asked the other day or a couple weeks ago if people would rather me go back to the Chicago time for these live streams. But most people were actually in favor of this time. So fair enough. This one's actually easier for me to do. So all good there, man. D-Ban Jan says, hey, Krown, just curious, in your outro, the squeaky voice, absolutely love it. You're talking about the music video. Yeah. Sweet, man. Question is your voice auto-tuned? No, I don't know which one you're actually referencing, but no, I don't actually sing it myself, but it is certainly auto-tuned like that. If you're talking... No, if he's talking about the outro, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, that's definitely auto-tuned, but it's not me, actually. Lastly, can you check out Jasmy USD on Binance daily and hourly? Gotcha. All right, so here we go. We're going deep into the shitcoin drawer now. Let's see what this one has in store, and pretty fucking bad already. But short term, not nearly as... Actually, this is a completely different chart than everything else we've seen today. The short term is... This thing's going up, man. I shouldn't say it's definitely going up, but it's very likely to go up, probably somewhere around 3.3 cent. Daily, you actually kind of have to, or I have to kind of be looking at this as a higher low as long as you're above 2.8 cent. Below 2.8 cent, yeah, this one falls apart and you're very likely to come back down below 2 cents again over time. But for right now, actually, it's actually not a bad chart right here. I do think that it trades up. Long term, not a big fan of this, but short term, I do think that it tries to the upside right there. Keyless and Anjujar says bounce areas for EGLD time frames, sir. a minute bounce zone is going to be a lot different than a fucking daily, for example. Yeah, so this one definitely a little bit more on the relatively weak side. Another lower high where most of the things did put in a higher high. Short term, could it bounce from right here? Yeah, it could very easily bounce right here. I just don't know what time frame you're talking about. Any bounce up to 180 is fair game. I'm not saying that's going to bounce to 180, but any bounce, between about 175 to 180 is just another lower high. Short term time frames, yeah, I think you're generally bouncing from like the 150 to 160 region. I just don't know what time frame is most relevant to you. But kind of the same thing as most other things. Like short term, maybe one more grind out of the lows, maybe even slightly a little bit lower, but ultimately looking for a bounce somewhere between about in this case, about 155 to 160. It's kind of where I'd be looking for. Hey, what's up, Toby1? Long time, man. Have you looked at Hex yet? No, I've not. Are you aware of PulseX? Is it the same thing as Pulse or not? It's a copy of Uniswap Pulse Chain. When is it coming out, man? I'm still curious. When's the damn Pulse thing? All right, let's go look at Hex. Let's see what this one's doing. Yeah, it's doing what everything else in this market's doing as well. Okay, so last time we looked at this, I did say upside move, very, very likely, somewhere around 17.5 to 18 cents. We got to 16.5 cents, so a little bit off on that one. And now I'm putting in a major local high right here. I do think that this one's getting ready to trade down big here. In fact, probably back down to about 11.5 cent lows, maybe another bounce there. Other than that, I probably wouldn't say too much about it. I'll be wrong, and this one is going to be primed for some pretty big upside, maybe even around like 21 to 22 cents. If you do see another daily closure above about 15.5, I wouldn't say it's certainly not impossible, but just not my main look on price action. And until that happens, if I'm looking at the 5-day, if I'm looking at the weekly, this looks like another lower high, and probably does come back down to test around those prior lows. 2-day, which closed last night. Yeah, hard to be bullish on this as long as you're below about 15.5. Above 15.5, I do think this one actually rips to the upside. But until then, I mean, this just, this is what the real chart looks like, right? Just a series of lower lows and lower highs, which I'm never going to be a humongous fan of. So hopefully that was helpful, man. What does the monthly look like? Not really giving me too much for there. If anything, probably is, another bounce off that region. But ultimately, I think this one does have maybe some lower to go after a bit of a bouncy here. Short term, it very likely does bounce, to be fair. Okay, cool. BK says near USD, 4-hour daily weekly. All right. Let's see where this one's at. I remember this one was maybe one of the stronger ones we looked at this week and last week. Let's see where it's at right now. Yeah, I would definitely say it's on the stronger side of things. But have we seen the pullback that you're looking for here? Let's put a nice fib on it. You're right at the 382, so very likely short-term bouncy is certainly not out of the question. Anywhere back around 15 and a half to $16 is completely fair game. But I do expect that you pull back a little bit more before the next potential low is in. I think 1375 is a little bit more of a higher probability region, and further to that point would be just below $13. Both of those two areas right here between the 0.5 and the 618 is kind of where I'd be looking for. Long term though, still among the better charts. In fact, probably the best chart that we've seen today thus far. So I mean, everything right there is a higher low. I'd have no reason to be bearish on this thing, especially as long as you're above like 1190. But I do think that you're going to do something like this, short-term bouncy, come back down here. That's where I'd be looking for on the higher low. If this one is going to have long-term continuation. Until then, it's just one of the better charts, but I don't think it's going to be immune from the general market movements here. So hopefully that was helpful, man. Let me get off my damn brush right there. Otherwise I'll start just drawing shit. Cool. All right, let's see. We have Yadata sound, data sound, Rune 4 hour and daily and weekly. Got it. All right, so Rune we haven't heard from in a long time now, I don't think. Or no, we did. Yeah, we did see it recently. It went on a nice little tear to the upside. Again, one of the better charts that we've seen here, relatively speaking, but I don't think it's going to be immune from the market's movements. I do think this one does come down further before the next, big time frame bounce, like a weekly, that being somewhere around $8 or so. Short term or shorter term on a daily, can very easily bounce short term to 10 and a quarter to 10 and a quarter to 10 and a half. But I do look at this as your next major local high, especially as long as you're closing daily totals below about $11. Short term time frames like a 4 hour, we more likely to bounce here or not. Maybe a little bit lower first before the bounce, but just like most things in this market, I think you're getting ready for a bounce after one more grind lower. Maybe around like eight and a half to about 870 or so, and then very likely a bounce. But I do think that bounce very likely fails. You come down a little bit more, and then the real question is, do you put in a local low somewhere around $7.5 to $8? That would be really, really good long term. Until then, until then, it's one of the more short-term better charts, to be fair. So hopefully that was helpful, man. I can tell you where I'd get rather bearish on it long term would be below about seven and a quarter on a higher term time frame would be very, very nasty right there. Mr. Ahmed is back. He says AVAX USD. Hey, all good, man. All good. Let's see. Maybe we could look at the Bitcoin parent on this one as well. Let's see. AVAX. I'm just curious if it looks relatively similar. Oh, the Bitcoin parent's pretty good. Pretty fucking good there. Interesting. So relative strength compared to Bitcoin. But if we go over here, let's go through the general time frames, as you didn't give any, but fair enough, man. What does the monthly look like right now? Okay. Yeah, very similar to a lot of the other charts that we've seen. Here we have AVAX, Avalanche versus the dollar here. We might even look at the Bitcoin parent as well. Very similar to a lot of the other charts. I do think that you're in a general short-term bouncy region. Bouncy is not the same thing as as reversal in this case. We'll talk about reversal conditions to the upside, but in this case, anywhere between about 80 to basically $80 low is kind of where I'm looking for a bounce from. And bounce can come up actually rather aggressively in this case. Anywhere between 90 to even $95. But I do get, or sorry, it's not that I do get, but I do look at this as still another lower high in the making, especially as long as you're closing higher term timeframes below $92.5. So that would be like a daily in this case. That is to say that as long as you're below there, I'm looking for something like this, likely into another lower high, whether it be right there or that, and then very likely come back down again. As always, it's going to be easier to watch Bitcoin in these cases, as it's going to get the general market direction more cleanly. Long term, what are you essentially doing? You're in one macro consolidation range, but that's, that could imply some pretty nasty downside as well, perhaps even all the way down to 73.5. But for right now, short-term bouncy, again, short-term bounces can come up into the shallow $90 region, no problem. Let's go reference it over here as well and see if everything else is aligning with this. Yeah, daily stochastic momentum still very corrective here, below about 96.5. Short-term time frames probably ready to pop up. Above $84, which you're kind of dancing around right now. Hourly is probably already up as well. Yeah, it's already up above about 82.70, which you're currently above by a good margin. And 6 hour will freshly cross up above 85 or so. So, likely a bit of sideways right here, probably bounces maybe around the weekend. And then the question is, does it get above 92.5 or not on a daily? If it does, then I'd say this is your next higher low. This was a nice little bear trap and probably gets traded back up towards its $100 highs. If it doesn't, then likely coming back down to somewhere around 75 or so. But still long term, it's relatively one of the better charts actually. That's not to say that if everything else were to come down super hard, that this one wouldn't as well. But, it is showing relative strength also on the Bitcoin pairing as well here. Long term, I generally like it as long as it's above about, 18,000 Satoshis on a weekly closing basis. Monthly, not really giving me too much right there, but most higher term time frames looking okay here, and a general long term uptrend as well, which is a good thing. So short term bouncy. And then we'll see if it gets back above 92.5. If it doesn't, then I'm looking probably somewhere around the mid 70s or so before the next potential major low. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Avalanche. Sir. Jim Ross says AVAX wanted 4 hour. Also, I noticed you don't use Caretaker's STC indicator on streams, only the Caretaker's RSI and Advanced Stochastic. Why is that? The STC is more like just a strategy in and of itself, which I don't trade. And also, I don't think that it really flows with the analysis for the most part. Like, it would be more like a trade analysis, which everyone's gonna have different strategies, different things. And, that's really for more short-term time frame scalpers, which I do consider myself, but, teach their own, right? These streams, I like to focus on generalized analysis. Which the RSI and stochastic play, they work better with the way that I look at things. Sebastian Gwynn, hey, what's up, man? Hey, all good. Yeah, man, all good. And yeah, man. Again, I always want to reiterate with that story. Like, that's not that's not a follow what I did. At least for the very questionable part. Everything else, I would definitely stand by. And yeah, it's quite a common story for pretty much every trader that I know. I think every trader that I know, except for 2 or 3. Have gone through something similar to that, like something similar where they've lost it all, or they've lost like a meaningful enough amount to where it's like, I need to call into question everything that I do in life now. But yeah, man, it's just human psychology, right? Like, we're not really open to deep change until we're super emotionally hurt. We're just not, because your body and your psyche just care that you're alive, and as long as you're getting food, which is pretty easy nowadays, it's not like hundreds of thousands of years ago where you had to hunt for yourself, and as long as you're having sex sores, which easy enough with the pornog that we have available on the internets now, your body's happy, and it doesn't really have any major reasons to change. So until you actually get one of those emotional jolts, it's hard to really have like deep change in that case. But that also means that the people who are able to do that, those are like really, 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 really amazing people just in general, because they're able to do something that most people can't. And they also don't have to deal with the very nasty trials and tribulations that, at least I had to deal with. So, what's the old saying? And the old saying is, a smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Learn from my mistakes. You don't go through that yourself. It's really not advisable. Like, obviously. Mr. G says, hello, please check out Hex USD. Yep, we already looked at that one. I didn't look at the short-term timeframes, I don't think, but kind of similar to a lot of the other things we've seen. Short-term bouncy, can very easily bounce back up towards 14, maybe even 15 cents, but quite bearish on this below about 15.5 cents. Above 15.5, I do look for this one to go on a pretty big tear into the shallow 20s, but I'm not a big fan of higher-term timeframes here. I think at best you're probably going to do something like this, where you come back down. Okay, the damn LARP lines are actually still working rather well. Should I leave these on for clout's sake? Fuck it. We don't need no clout here. Probably something like this. Short term, a little bit of bouncy, comes back down here. I think the hopium would be something like that. Something like that would be the hopium. The doomium is that you just put another lower high and blip, down we go. Cool. Or maybe not so cool for you. Echoes, sorry. Oh, chicken. Who's Chicken Dance? Chicken Dance says Rose, USD, Fora, and daily. Okay, gotcha. All right, Rose. The Desert Rose. that's one of the best episodes of It's Always Sunny, honestly. Fucking, and you're the chicken dance as well. Oh my god, you're the chicken dance for the 3 war eagles, and you're talking about Desert Rose. Amazing, just fucking amazing. 4 hour daily. Yeah, another one that got absolutely fucking schlacked here. Short term, I expect that you do bounce. Or do we bounce from a little bit lower? Might grind out 23.5 cent one more time. I don't think that's super problematic, but I do think that you're setting up for probably a weekend bounce into the 26 to maybe even 27.5 cent range. Long term though, hard chart to love here, or at least I wouldn't be calling any reversals, especially as long as you're below basically those same numbers, about 27.5 cent on a daily. I guess the hoping would be that you do something like this, you bounce here and then pop back up above there and close the daily above there. That would be indicative of a higher low and probably continuation, at least to your last highs in early April, and probably new highs around 37 cent. But I guess that's a little more hoping right now. Let's see what the higher term timeframes look like. Yeah, weekly makes me think that this one comes back down to like low 20 cents and tries for a bounce there longer term. If you're on a 4 hour, yeah, again, short term, a little bit of sideways, probably bounces from here. And then, well, be aware of where those pain points are, I suppose. Hopefully that was helpful, ma'am. Let's see. Okay, let's scroll back up here. I see you, Mr. Venegas. We're going to get to that soon, sir. Echo ZN is looking at MicroStrategy. Yeah. MicroStrategy. 4 hour, 1 day. Worried sailor will go bankrupt trying to outsim Bitcoin versus Do Kwon. It's an interesting thing. I mean, people seem to really have like some sort of weird disdain for Michael Saylor, and I mean, like if you think that his buys are timed poorly, then he wouldn't be in massive profit, which he is. So. Oh, well, there's always going to be someone who's just popular to hate, right? Anyways, in this case, I do think that this one does come down lower. Again, maybe after a short-term bounce, can bounce back up towards 465 or so. No problem today, but I do look for this one to trade lower. Invalidation would be above $500 on a daily closure. Until then, I do think it's more likely to find its way back down around to the $380 to $400-ish region. In this case, 4 hour time frame. Short term might open up on a bounce today, and if it does close back above about actually like 495, I would say this actually would be your next higher low, and just going to trade, going to have a nice explosive move to the upside from there, probably into the deep 500s, low 600s. But for right now, short term maybe a little bit of bounce, but ultimately I do think that it's going to try for a low somewhere around 380 to 400 or so. Crypto AROM says, hey Krown, hope you and Elsa are doing well. Thanks, man. I hope you're doing well as well. Hey, nice little avatar of a cute little dog, man. Or at least I think it is. Can we take a look at DOT, 4 hour and daily? Yes. Okay, symbol DOT. I always say it in my mind as Department of Transportation. Again, very, very similar chart on the short-term timeframes to a lot of the other ones that we've seen. Might grind out this 19 and 3/4 region a few more times, but generally speaking, I do think that you're setting up for a bounce into the 21 to maybe even $21.50 region. But I would not call this a local low just yet until you start to close dailies above basically that $21.50 region. If you do that, this would be your next higher low. You'd have hidden bullish evidence over here, and this one probably does go on a nice rip towards the upside, somewhere around 25 to maybe as much as $29. But I do think the more likely thing is probably something like this comes down, tries for a higher low somewhere around there. Let's just see where the fibs kind of align with. Yeah, somewhere around $19 or so. Actually, that 618 is kind of where like 18.5 to $19 or so would be kind of where I'd be looking for. But yeah, short term very likely does play a little bit of sideways and bounce. And hey, if it does get back above 21.5, that's where I'd say, hey, there's your nice little bear trap. There's your higher low, and upwards and onwards is the way. But I mean, it's definitely possible, but I just think the downside is a little bit more likely here. Test back down around those lows. What's up, Mr. Stolocteriors? I see you, sir. Been hodling Bitcoin and Ethereum since May 2020. Like, you literally couldn't have traded it better. Stolocteriors just flexing on everyone. Let's see. So May 2020, that was over here. That was at $9,000 fucking dollars. Nice one, man. I love your thoughts, opinions on the weekly and monthly, looking out as far as you feel comfortable projecting on Bitcoin. Okay, so I'm going to project my neuroses on Bitcoin. With this weekly in play right here and the potential potential hidden bearish divergence. And then also a chart that we actually haven't referenced in a while because it hasn't been super relevant for a while, but that would be the secondary chart over here with the monthly MACD. I can make a very strong bearish case for like significantly lower lows. If you want some real bear porn, I can definitely make that for you, but I don't know if it's super appropriate just yet. The monthly becomes very, 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 very concerning below $40,000. Below $40,000, that's going to break the 20 simple moving average on this one. You're also going to have a monthly MACD cross the downside. And each and every time that we've seen this sort of particular setup, again, mediated by the closure below the white 20 simple, has led down towards an ultimate move towards the green 55 exponential moving average on this chart, which is actually currently at just below 25,000 bucks. So that would be the risk if that were to happen. If we're on a weekly in this case, I do generally think that. I mean, what's the hopium here? I always need to give like some hopium in this case. The hopium is that this is your next higher low, like literally right fucking here. This correction just down to your 55. Volatility is low. That's generally a setup in the way they look at things. You would have also potentially hidden bullish divergence between this low over here and this potential low right here. And that will be confirmed above about 46,000 bucks on a daily closing basis, or even just anywhere back above yesterday's high actually would probably be good enough for me. So that'd be 45.5 if that were to happen. And then I'd say that, downside is canceled for at least for a very long time. I'd be looking for general pullbacks from either 52 or probably more likely 56 to 57 would be like the big areas for big pullbacks. But for right now, as long as you're below 45, risk remains to the downside, I do believe. And I'd say that, hopium is completely canceled. But with a daily closure below about 42,500 bucks. I would say that lower first is significantly more likely, and presumed targets in mind somewhere around 36 to 38,000 bucks. Obviously, that's going to put the monthly in play over here because if the monthly does start to close below 40,000, then I'd generally be looking much lower over time. So that seems like it might be a little bit more relevant to you. Hopefully that was helpful, ma'am. Cool. All right, let's see. We have Mr. Jesus. He's back. Beko, is this a stock? Is this like a real thing? Or is it a... God damn it. God damn it, Jesus. 1 in 4 hour. Okay. God. What was this? Sir? Sir, for the love of God. Let's bring it up on this chart over here. The fuck is this thing? Where do you find these things, man? Not enough to do on a higher term time frame, obviously, but you're on an hourly and a 4 hour, so let's just do that. Short term, probably set up for a bounce somewhere around about 150 or so. You might kind of already have it. Might be one more move to the downside first. In fact, I think it's a little bit more likely between about 149 to 150, and then probably short term bounces come back up towards 165 to 170 and not do anything. I look at this one, however, as generally bearish below about 185. So a little bit of sideways, probably one more downside move. Hey, you're about to print some hidden bearish evidence, or no, you're not on the hourly, but it does look like one's putting maybe one more spike low here, something like this, and then curl back around, put in a bit of a rally. Any rally that fails to get back above 185 is just another lower high before getting ready for trend continuation, motherfucker. Trend continuation within the context of this very highly esteemed altcoin would be to the upside on the inverted chart. You're rich in negative money. Keyless Anjujar says IMX 4 hour and daily. Gotcha. IMX. Okay, maybe we turn off the inverted chart. Okay, much different look on this one. Yeah, very bad. But if you're on the 4 hour, again, I do think you're generally going to bounce relatively soon, whether you have maybe one more downside move towards 195 or not. I don't have a strong opinion on, but I am looking for a bounce basically in this region right here. And bounce can come back up very easily towards, 216, maybe even as much as 2.25. But just keep in mind that, another chart that has only ever gone down, even in some of the greatest bull markets known to mankind, this thing has only ever gone down, which is not the best sign. I remain long-term bearish on charts like this, especially as long as you're closing daily doodles below 240 minimum. 240 minimum, more likely to retest around your March lows than reverse here. But hey, that would be my conditions for that. So yeah. All right. Mr. Jonathan K says, hey, Krown, when you say Bitcoin has a chance to close has to close above 46,000 on a 12-hour or 24-hour for reversal. How do those timeframes get measured? Moment. What do you mean? How do they get measured? Moment the break happened? No, that's. I don't think I fully understand what you're saying, to be honest with you. But if I were to put my twist on it, like all that I'm measuring that off of is like is I need to see a confirmation. Like, okay, hold on. Okay, for reversal, yeah. So in this case, the reason why I'm saying that is because I need to see something resembling a confirmed local low here. In order to get a confirmed local low here, we need to see both a stop and reversal point. And in this case, your breakdown happened right below about, I mean, really yesterday, below about 45.5. So that's kind of how I look at it in this case. Obviously, over a longer period of time, those conditions can be brought down. They theoretically could be brought down, you know, depending upon how like structure kind of emerges from here. But 45.5 is actually the area. I was wrong about $46,000. It should be 45.5 or so. Basically yesterday's breakdown. If Bitcoin gets back above there, that confirms this area right here as a nice local low and a higher low, and very likely does have major trend continuation to the upside. So yeah, I think if I understand your question properly. Nomic says, hey Krown, please check out Sol USD. Okay, short and medium term. Don't know what that means to you, but I'm going to go with a 4 hour and a daily, probably. Let's see. Yeah, daily right here is just a complete failure. Let's see. Hey, I know that I have a chart on this one. What the hell? Must have deleted it. Anyways, top side of the range, very obviously about 130, basically 140. Short-term time frames will be more likely to bounce alongside most of the other things. Maybe one more move to the downside. You know, anywhere around here is kind of where I'm looking for on a bounce. That being between about 110 to maybe as short as 107 or so. And I would be looking for a bounce there. You know, after that, something like this, and you know, anything back up to like 120 to 125 is fair game, but I do not confirm this as a local low and trend continuation to the upside as long as you're below about 130 on a daily closing base. I do think it's more likely to trade back down. I'll tell you where I'd be looking for the next move to the downside. That'd be with any sort of a daily closure below 107. Even a 12-hour closure below 107 would do it for me. I would be looking for this one to trade all the way back down for, you know, $90, with maybe another bounce somewhere around $100 or so. So yeah. Cool. Let me take another sippy sip of this. Ice 32,000 says, would you close Bitcoin longs put on from 45.5 and Solana longs at an average of 121 here, given 44,000 break? Market seems kind of complacent. Apple announcement possible. Yeah, I don't know why people are talking about this stupid fucking Apple announcement. This shit does not matter. Like, people who focus on this shit, they do not in any way, shape, or form understand markets. And I'll just say that point blank period. A very aggressive statement. I do understand. I don't know who you're referencing, to be honest with you, but I know that people become very reliant on these sort of announcements and whatnot. Look, if your asset is dependent on announcements, it's not going to end well. And the run up into that announcement is probably the real rally that you're going to see, and then sold off after the announcement, because the expectation is already, you know, is already known. Like, what are they going to announce more than the expectation? Unless if they announce like, hey, we're going to focus everything in Apple on producing Bitcoin or whatever the fuck. It's not going to matter, man. These are things that people, like news people, focus on because they need shit to talk about. They need to justify a move, and it's completely fucking meaningless. It's not that it's meaningless, just as far as trading goes, it's completely fucking meaningless, at least in my opinion. So yeah. Anyways, as far as the question goes, I can't answer that for you because I don't know what your strategy was. The only thing that I can do that would hopefully be of some use and helpfulness would be, hey man, look, it sounds like you didn't have a plan, or maybe your plan was based off of an Apple announcement. I don't know. I mean, fair enough, at least it was some plan, but I would not suggest doing that again. Personally, you know, look, you need to have these things well defined in advance. It's like, hey, if price action does this, this is my response to it, or you know, or maybe no response at all. But that needs to be documented in your plan. So for myself, you know, when I'm doing these analyses on YouTube, I don't trade like this. I don't care what the daily's doing for the most part. You know, maybe on like some short-term scalp plays, I will, like I posted in the Discord yesterday, but I don't trade like that. I'm on typically shorter term time frames, and I'm trading my strategy, which doesn't give a fuck about the daily trend, the weekly trend, weekly levels, or anything like that. It's, you know, it's all noise to me as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't even know what the daily trend is if I didn't do, or I probably would, but you know, I wouldn't be focusing on it if I didn't do these videos on YouTube. You know, my trading is very, very simplistic. I use 3 indicators. I use moving averages, I use BBWP, and I use an RSI. That's it. That's fucking it. That's it. Sometimes I use stochastic as well, but it's not actually included in my plan currently speaking. So as far as what you're saying, what I'm going to guess is that you are looking for the moonshot to the upside, which I do think is a relevant thing to be looking at. But again, it was a relevant thing to be looking at as long as Bitcoin was above about $44,500. I think that the probabilities of that happening have greatly diminished here, but you know, the real skill that you need to develop is to come up with that plan, and then stick by that plan. Because if you're just like putting on longs because, or the question is, why did you put on those positions, and also why didn't you take profits on them? Because 45.5 was actually a pretty good buy if you were trading over here. I mean, Bitcoin traded up north of $48,000. You were in profit, you know, pretty damn well. But yeah, other than that, I feel like if I say more, I'll probably like confound something that you should be doing yourself. But basically, I'd say you got one more line of hopium. I don't think, personally speaking, I don't think it's going to work out. That line of hopium is exactly where Bitcoin is at right now. You would not want to see Bitcoin basically close dailies below about 42.5. Per speaking, I don't think that's even that relevant. I do think that that's mostly hopium here, but you know, that's just me. And again, I wouldn't trade that myself. I'm not interested in that trading. NWB says Bitcoin dominance on the 4-hour and daily. Sure. Bitcoin dom. Yeah, that was ICE. Bitcoin dominance on the 4-hour and daily. I really would caution against looking at like Bitcoin dominance, Dixie, Tether dominance, these sorts of things on any time frame less than a daily. I always see people trying to match up like, oh man, we're getting an hourly breakout on Dixie. It's like, it doesn't fucking mean anything, you know. But in this case, Bitcoin dominance, I do think is gonna do something like this. You know, a little bit of sideways here, might even test the downside again, but generally back up somewhere around about 42.75 to 43% or so. I actually think that this is the reversal right here, to be honest with you. Long term, the weekly, I think especially, yeah. I'd actually be calling this like the macro reversal, and there's a very obvious invalidation point on this one as well. That's below about 41.41 actually, or just 41.40. Until then, I actually do think that you're maybe a little more sideways, maybe come back down to test around those lows, but I do think that you are going up from here. 4-hour, if you put a gun on my head and said analysize it, I do think short term down, back down to like 41.80, 41.85 or so, but I wouldn't stand by the short term analysis. I really don't think it matters on things like Dixie or, you know, things like this that move at a little bit of a slower pace. And generally speak towards like, you know, long-term trends, for example. That's what I really care about on these charts, if I care about anything at all. But yeah, long-term, I do think that this one is getting ready for some pretty significant upside long-term. But the thing is that you can't just blindly say, to reference the title of this video, it is a clickbait title, obviously. You know, you can't just say that all altcoins are going to get wrecked. No, what we're seeing now is bifurcation between, or at least in my opinion, what we're seeing bifurcation between the very legitimate altcoins, which there are now many, or you know, at least a decent amount compared to prior years. And also just the, you know, the projects that have no business really being traded as like legitimate assets. And so I can't just blindly say that everything is shit. No, it's certainly not. So that's also why kind of Bitcoin dominance becomes less useful over time, at least in my opinion. I think really what we're going to need to see is like, I mean, really, it's just best to be looking at things individualistically, personally speaking, and then maybe at some point, like some sectors would be good. That would actually be more meaningful to analysis as well. James Bob, Mr. Bob, XRP versus Ethereum, sure. Okay, let's see where we're at on this one. I haven't looked at the Ethereum pairing basically ever, and it's pretty bad, pretty fucking bad, man. Yeah, that's sir, for the love of God. It's been a while on that one, man. Yeah, something that's only ever gone down is right in your fucking ear, man. Hey, if I have to look at these damn charts, You got to listen to that. No, I'm just kidding, man. Just giving you some shit. Weekly, just garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. But I mean, look, man, like you don't. Terrible. Just fucking terrible. But, you know, the thing is that it's so low now that I don't think you have too much lower to go before like the next major bounce. It's just where does that likely come from? As of right now, I don't look at anything bullish in this case. As long as you're below like 43.50, it's quite far away. But you know, above there, I actually do think that Ripple would go through for an explosive move versus Ethereum. Until then, I'm just looking for trend continuation. Another drive of hidden bearish evidence was confirmed about 2 weeks ago. Generally speaking, I'm going to be looking for a retest of lows here. I would only invalidate that with another move back above about 2,800. I'd be more interested in looking at Ethereum versus US dollar. I'm going to guess that this one also not looking super hot short term. Yeah, has the same sort of issues going on right here. Getting a bit of a bull trap in this case as we do see some hidden bearish divergence populate itself. That'll be fully confirmed with any sort of a closure here or lower below about 77.5 cent. And that will have targets down towards the mid to low 60s in the following week. So kind of what I think is at stake. It's not confirmed yet. The hopium is that you're putting in a higher low right here alongside everything else in this market. It's possible, but again, as long as Bitcoin's trading below yesterday's kind of dump off point, I do think I'm generally going to think that it's less likely, obviously. Okay, cool. All right, she's closing the chats, the chitty chats. Ben0613 says ZIL, the USD. Okay. Zillakerp. Hey, a chart that looks completely different than most things. Very, very strange to look at here, but pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see. Do I look for it to trade a little bit further south before the next potential higher low? Let's see. Kind of at the 618 already here. Let me see. I'm waiting for that to go. There we go. Fendi fun about to open. All right, we'll get David Wells for the last one there. We'll do all the comments that were done before this moment, but not after. Let me get the actual low in this case. I do think that it probably comes down a little bit lower, somewhere around just below 11 cents, like 10.5 to 11 cents. But you know, completely different chart than most things. Actually, for what it's worth right now, pretty good. I can't get bearish on a chart like that looks like this as long as you're above 9 cents long term. It's just I would express caution because it looks a lot different than most other things, and you know, generally speaking, this market kind of trades with each other. But I actually have to be bullish on this thing, especially as long as you're above about 10 cents or so. So I do think, you know, a bit of sideways here, probably gonna be some bounce in between, something like that, and then any sort of a higher low above 10 cents, let's say, is very likely going to be met with some new highs. I would suspect. This one's pretty much already at all-time highs. So yeah, one of the better charts we've seen today, actually, relatively speaking. Trunk says CRO 4-hour and daily. Okay. I did not do David. Yeah, spell. Okay, whoops. I just typed that to Elsa. Nice. Spell USD. Okay. I guess we try Binance for this. Okay, very limited history here. Daily and weeklies. Weekly is definitely not going to work out. Daily barely works out. Daily, not great here. Massive potential hidden bearish divergence plus a head and shoulders on the RSI will be confirmed with any sort of a closure below 4.5 tenths of a cent, with targets back down towards your March lows, basically at like 3.5 tenths of a cent. Until then, I look at this chart as massively bearish as long as you're below 5.75. If you're looking at a weekly, there's no chart here to really look at least for myself. I would have no analysis. Now, if you do start to close back above about 5.75, I actually would look for this one to go on quite a bit of a tear. And when I say a bit of a tear, I mean close to like 8 tenths of a cent, maybe even 1 cent, 1 cent, but somewhere around there is what I'd be looking for. Until then, until it closes above those levels, I look for a trend continuation, which means more down. Maybe after a bit of a short-term bounce here. So a little bit of hopium inside of the doomium there. Let's see, CRO 4-hour and daily. Gotcha. All right, this is crypto.com. No, this is Kronos. What? Why no, it is crypto.com. They have the same whatever. Whatever, man. I'm gonna go with KuCoin in this case. Let's see. And you're looking at a 4-hour and a daily. Let's see. Long term, yeah, very little's changed on this chart. Just want to look at a weekly right here. I mean, I think you're generally ranging here, and you could come down to like 40 cents again, which is actually okay long term. Short term, I do think just like most other things, you're very likely to bounce relatively soon. We could put this bounce box between about 43 and 43.5 cent, and bounce could come up very easily towards mid 40s, like 45 to maybe even much as 47 cent. But I do look at this as another lower high, as long as you're especially below about 47 cents on a daily closing basis. So short term, sideways and probably bouncy. Any bounce that fails to get back above 47 cents, I do look forward to have the next move down somewhere around like, it actually has pretty tight margins here, somewhere around like 40 to 41 cents or so. Still long term, it wouldn't actually be that bad. Like super bad long term would be below about 37 cents. So I don't think that's super concerning just yet. If you're on a full hour, again, short term, bit of a sideways, maybe one more test of the downside, and then probably a bounce is what I'd be looking at right there. Ultimate Gandhi says Harmony 1. Did we look at? No, we didn't look at this one. Harmony 1. Okay. Full hour and daily. Slava Ukrainia. Slava Ukrainia indeed, man. Anyways, what is, okay, all right, a long term does hold its higher lows, has actually a pretty long running history, so this is long term a good sign, but short term, very similar to a lot of the other charts, man. Short term, bit of sideways here, very likely a bounce. 14.5 cents to maybe even 15 cents is fair game. This actually does look like it could have played out a correction here. I'd actually get bullish on this thing again above about 16 cents with targets up long term towards 20 cents plus. But for right now, just short term bouncy. Any bounce that fails get back above like 16 cents in the next I don't know. I wouldn't give a time frame on it, but just any bounce that fails get back above there, I do look for it to come back down and play towards your March lows. Other than that, I wouldn't say too much. Let's see, what does a monthly look like? Yeah, monthly is in a very precarious place, but I'd still give it a chance right here. Yeah, bi-weekly kind of a little bit more nasty right there. But maybe not relevant to you. Hey, thanks for that, Jacksons. Appreciate that, man. You have a porn star's name. Nice. Jay Header says AMP daily and weekly. Think we see a test of 1.8 cent. Let's see. AMP. Remember we looked at this one earlier this week for you, or maybe someone else, but I know that there's another chart on this, and it's probably on Gemini. But fuck it, Gemini's not showing up here, so we're gonna go to CoinX. Yeah, it does have more long-running chart, but not helping out its look though. Daily, weekly. I do think that you'll generally... okay, 1.8... Hold on, we need to get Gemini, because it's probably going to have that. It's not on Gemini. Is it not on Gemini? Maybe, hold on. Maybe this. Yes, there we go. There we go. Okay, I knew that I was missing something. Yeah. Yeah, I do think somewhere between like 1.8 to 2.1 cent longer term. Probably going to have another drive of hidden bearish evidence. No, you actually don't. You don't have a drive of hidden bearish evidence there, so a little bit of short-term hopium. But I do think that you're going to have a decent bounce before that, probably somewhere around 2.4, and I'd call a reversal here back above 2.7. I always have to have a bit of hopium right there, but yeah. Other than that, I don't really have strong opinions on this one that you probably don't already know. I do generally think this one probably does try somewhere around your region, like 1.8 to 2 cent even, and probably a nice bounce there. Quite bullish back above 3 cents, if you can do that, or I'd even say 2.7.5 cent, with targets up towards 3 cents. And so hopefully that's helpful, man. But kind of a strange chart there. Definitely not playing with the rest of the market, or at least on the relatively weak side, I would say. Echo Zian says Luna. Yeah, we haven't looked at Luna all day. I'm pretty sure Luna hit our target at like 118 or 120. Yeah, 119.5, right there in the middle. Nice. You're looking at short-term time frames here. I don't know if I had to call it. Actually, I'd be looking for a bounce back up towards 110 to 112. I really don't have actually a good idea on this one, man. I'm inclined to say it's more likely to bounce here though, or around here. Most things I think are setting up for short-term bounces here. But overall on the daily, we do see multiple drops of bearish divergence. So if I'm going to run the analysis off of that, I probably would be looking for a correction down to like 102 to 103. Maybe after a short-term rally. If things really get nasty, then $90 is where I'd be looking towards. Should I record a video on this one? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, God, do I area right there? Not bad. All right, let's do this one really quickly. Here we have Terra Luna symbol LUNA versus the dollar, and I wanted to follow up on this one because we did hit our target off of the medium-term timeframe breakout towards the 118 to 125 region. Looks like we got a high price of about 119.5, so that's good. Short-term, as was requested, I probably am looking for a bit more sideways right here. I'm actually not too strong on the short term for this one in particular, but if I had to call it, a bit of sideways and probably a bounce as we do start to print in some potential hidden bullish divergence, which will be confirmed with a 4-hour or even an hourly closure above about $110.5, with targets up towards, actually more towards like 113. However, I am getting some signals for a bit of a deeper pullback on the daily right here, as we do see the daily BBWP go back into a contraction phase. So corrective moves incoming, most likely, and we do see many drives of bearish divergence come off those highs as well. So the general target for that would be about 102.25 to 102.5, and if it does go for a deeper correction, then somewhere around about 91 to 92 bucks. And then we come back to it after that. Long term though, it's still, among some of the best charts in cryptocurrency land, but the question is it putting in like a major macro top right there or not? I'm actually still inclined to say that's pretty good long term, as long as you do remain above that 90, basically like $91 pivot or so. But for right now, short term bouncy, and probably does correct a little bit more to the downside before anything else, and then maybe gives another try like later this month or so. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Luna. Actually, just one more thing on Luna. I do want to see what it looks like over here. Let's see. Okay, so weekly. Whoops, wrong chart actually. Got all my damn charts mixed up over here. All right, Luna. Let's go to a weekly. Okay, we're going to be vertical above 85, so that's okay for now. Daily is turning down below 117.70. So again, yeah, daily and 2-day both corrective right here. 2 days postured at about 115, and the 5-day turns down below $100, which would actually be rather nasty. Short-term timeframes, yeah, coming down to extremes here at 112. So probably a little bit more sideways, but very likely a bounce shorter term. And then actually I probably would be looking for pullbacks down around about $100 to maybe even as low as $90, and then come back to it after that. So hopefully that was helpful. And there you go for Luna. Sweet. Kono says, Jesus. Okay. Kono. The fuck? Konami Network. Konami Network. Another dude, you only pick straight down charts. Jesus's favorite type of chart. Just straight fucking down, baby. The lower it goes, even better, man. Even fucking better. 1 and 4. Okay, the weekly is pretty ugly. Daily, there's a little bit of hopium here though. Here's the hopium, is that you're actually seeing your first major macro reversal ever, and volume signature, to be fair, is actually pretty good there. So you know what, maybe I eat my words on this one. That would imply though, Mr. Jesus, a very obvious invalidation point, and that is below 1270. As long as you're above there, actually do look for this one to probably trade up and to the right, giving you another test towards like 19 to 20 cents or so. Daily continuation towards new highs somewhere around like 38.5 to 39 cents would be confirmed with a daily closure above about 23. Actually, not bad right there, man. Not bad. Short term, probably a bit of sideways. Let's see. Kine, Mr. Ho Hennax. Man, that is a difficult name. I'm sorry. GLMR. How does GLMR? I don't know what time frames you're looking at, man. So could look all kinds of good and bad depending upon what you're focusing on there. Again, another chart that's only ever gone down. So that's a really good sign. I guess the hopium is that you're putting in a higher low right here, and you're seeing an actual reversal, kind of similar to that last one. Short term, do I think you get another bounce back up towards like 440, maybe even 475? Possible, yes, but I would not confirm this as your next local low and a higher low and a reversal with big targets to the upside, probably around $6.5 to $7.5 until you get daily closures at minimum above 475. So that would be my confirmation of macro reversal, and it's all good in the hood after that. Until then, I do think short term up and probably more of the same to the downside over a long enough period of time. Echo ZN says Matic BTC daily weekly. Okay, another one that we haven't looked at in a long time that was very popular back in the day a few months ago. Okay, daily and weekly seems determined to dump. Yeah, it does look like it wants to kind of dump off here. I wouldn't be looking as low as you are, or at least not without like a major bounce before that, but I'd be looking somewhere around like 3,100 or so for the next major bounce. See what a monthly looks like. Not really much to go off of right here, but yeah, not really much to go off of right there. Daily, just continuation. Yeah, can't really be looking for reversals in this as long as you're below about 3,700. So probably looking for more downside. I'm not, I wouldn't be as bearish as you just yet, actually. I do think you're going to get a general big bounce somewhere around 3,000 to 3,100. Below there, you probably get your targets met. Yeah, but until then, I do think you're probably in for a pretty decent bounce somewhere around that region. Cool. Mr. Venicus, he's back. It's another straight down chart. It's Coty. I forget if this one is or not. I think it is not, actually. I think it's not. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's definitely not. Actually, pretty good long term. You are on a 4 hour and a daily. Okay. Hopium is that you're putting in a higher low somewhere around here, which could imply maybe a little bit further down, somewhere between about 25.5 to 26.5 cent. In this case right here, or 26.25, I should say. You'll confirm a local low and, big targets to the upside, probably somewhere around like upper 30s with any sort of a daily closure above about 31 cents. Until then, short term, I do think you're generally bouncing here, as most things are. Something like this, could come up as much as like 29 to 30 cents. But any sort of a rejection there, and especially, move back down below 25 cents is where I look for this one to go for the full retrace, baby, which means all the way back down below 20 cents. But until then, that's the hopium and that's the doomium. And those are kind of the areas that I'll be looking at for right now. All right, Mr. Justin Tomiak, last one, man. Last one of the day. E&J, one of the blue chips? Blue chips, you say? Let's see. Is it a blue chip? Let's see the chart first before judging. Actually, a really good move right there. And hey, that's actually a really good sign. I mean, this one is eating up the dump from yesterday. Dare I even say that? I mean, if this actually does close like that, I mean, if that actually be a good sign for the general market, because typically the market trades with each other, and that would imply kind of Bitcoin does the same thing. Anyways, any sort of a closure above yesterday's high, which is 170, I'd say this is your next higher low, and this one trades back up towards its high somewhere around 190, and probably has continuation towards majorly new highs, or new highs on this rally somewhere in like the 210 to 220-ish region. Other than that, I don't. I mean, this is the first chart that we've seen like this today that I think has had like a pretty good response right there. Definitely one of the better responses. Here's what the short term looks like. Yeah, I need to see the daily closure first, but for right now, probably the best response short term. Yeah, if it does close above yesterday's high, man, I'm looking for this one to trade back up towards 180, 190, and probably have continued. I mean, this would be another higher low. You'd even have hidden bullish evidence right here. Very, very low BBWP, so that'd be a pretty good setup, actually, long term. Actually, one of the more interesting ones short term, man. Thank you for bringing that one up. All right, cool. I think we are done for the day, sirs and sirs. It's been a lovely Thursday. Yeah, Thursday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Again, kind of wrapping up my thoughts on Bitcoin. A little bit of sideways here. Very likely a bounce from this region. If bounces reclaim back above about 45.5 on a daily closing basis, I actually would say that this is your next higher low, and very likely see major trend continuation, probably towards 50,000 plus. Any sort of rejection below there, and I do look for the signals that we spoke about earlier to likely play out into the next week. Anyways, I'm going to be signing off now. Take care. Wishing. Is there a stream tomorrow? Probably a stream tomorrow. I'm not sure. We'll see. Especially if price action is moving, I'd like to do a stream. If it's not, maybe not. We'll see. I haven't really decided yet. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to our moderation squad, keeping everyone safe in Safu. We'll be back on soon enough. And with that said, take care, and until next time.
Write it, code it, name it, tweet it, mine it, stack it, live it, dream it, post it, scan it, charge it, send it, do it, and receive it. Trade it, buy it, sell it, store it, run it, list it, first rename it. Crypto logic. Pump it, hack it, lose it, dump it, sell it, ditch it, XR pitch it, copy, paste it, nudge it, test